would only find giant boxes like this at the end of dungeons where only super hardcore players would get to see them.
Right.
Through our event system, we've tried to take giant boxes like this and throw them out in the middle of the game world so that everybody gets to experience them and take part in battles like this.
The focus is heavy on dynamic gameplay.
Absolutely.
And non-scripting.
And you're going to see, as over the course of us fighting this, we're probably going to have 30 or 40 players at least show up and take part in this battle. And these events scale up to support that many people.
Very impressive.
So I was telling you earlier a little bit about how the first 5 skills are determined by the weapons you're using. So Leah was using 2 axes to start with. Now she's switched weapons to a rifle. And her skills have completely changed, and her role has changed because of that. She is now more of a ranged character. She is no less effective at range. She just changes the role that she plays.
So rather than... So you can technically play multiple classes on the same character.
That's the idea, yes. If your group, you know, if you're in the middle of combat and you're fighting something up close and your group needs to back off and you need somebody to get to range, you can hot switch to the rifle in the middle of combat. Suddenly now you're the ranged character. The idea behind this is, you know, we've all experienced in Guild Wars 1 or in other games the point where you're trying to form a group and you're like, we need a monk and we need 2 ranged characters and we need 2 frontline characters, and you get people who get left out and they can't play with you because of that, or you can't do a certain piece of content because you need people. With this weapon system, you can play with whoever you happen to have online, and you guys can all play different roles by hot swapping weapons and changing the roles that you're playing dynamically in combat, so you can always play with the people that you want to play with.
That's smart.
So we talked a little bit about environment weapons earlier, how we had buckets of water that change your skill bar so you could dump out water on the ground and put out fires. Leah has found a mortar here, which changes her skills out to give her mortar skills. And she gets to unleash a bunch of mortar shells down on the dragon and his minions down there. To the right of her, you can see someone's operating a giant turret and firing cannon blasts at the dragon. Another environment skill is actually the elite skill for the Char warrior. This is the war banner. By summoning the war banner, Leah has created an environment weapon in the world that buffs and heals characters around her. She can pick up the war banner, run around and put it in a different location, so she can dynamically heal people in different locations and buff them. Also, people in her party can pick up the war banner and move it around for her, so that you guys can help each other out, and you can do a lot of cool tactics that way.
So it's a healing perimeter you can make.
Mm-hmm.
That's nice. Encourages players to stick together.
You can see that tornado rolling past there. That's actually the Elementalist elite skill, and those are Elementalists that have turned into tornadoes, and they can move around, and whenever they hit creatures, they send them flying and do a ton of damage to them.
That's not good. Those are enemies?
Those are allies.
Oh, they're allies.
Yeah,
okay.
Those are other charred Elementalists that are turning into tornadoes. They're helping fight.
They turn into the elementals themselves instead of summoning them?
That's the idea, yeah.
Does that take effect past just the tornadoes?
Do you mean are there other forms?
Are there other forms? Like, yeah. Okay.
So there are all sorts of things that you can find. One of the things you can find in this map is actually golem suits that you can hop into, and you can hop into basically a robot suit that switches out the skills on your skill bar and lets you play the game completely differently. We try to do a lot of things like that.
So it's very arcadey and accessible the way the combat's set up.
Absolutely.
Is this still something for players who are seeking just endgame? Like, does endgame change the gameplay?
So we have a ton of endgame content available. We have dungeons, which are organized group, more difficult content. A lot of those come at the endgame. This is much more difficult stuff. We have a ton of events that are at the highest level, so you can go and you can do the really hard events in the game.
This isn't one of them?
This is actually just a mid-level event. This is actually a small dragon. There are much bigger dragons in the game. You can see now, we've defeated this guy, and you can see why it's called the Shatterer. There he goes.
There's the ice.
And as I told you earlier, anyone can get rewarded for participating in content. There's no walking loot for one person. So here we have a gigantic boss chest that everybody gets stuff from because it helps rank. So yeah, there's a whole bunch more endgame content. We'll talk about that a little bit more when we get into PvP as well, and I'll tell you more about our site picking system when we're done with this too, how that works for our endgame content.
So this eliminates the need to find parties though, almost completely.
Correct. So if you want to create a party, you can, and if you don't, you can just naturally create these ad hoc groups as you're playing in events together.
And you don't have to start killing bumblebees and worms at the start?
Nope. No bumblebees, no worms. Unless you want to. There are worms if you feel like killing them, but we're never going to make you do it. So one of the really cool things we're doing is, you've noticed that combat is very visual and it's clear, easy to see what's going on. We've tried to create inter-class combos that are also easy to see and understand. So you want to see if we get some folks from ArenaNet to put some firewalls down for us?
Are they logged on specifically for this demo, or are they testing right now?
So we got folks back in ArenaNet who are testing. We got folks back in ArenaNet who are logged on to help people play through the demo. And then there are a whole bunch of people down on the game show floor who are actually running around with us right now as well. So you'll notice people have put down a firewall, and Leah is using the spinning axe attack. And when she goes through the firewall using that, little fireball will shoot off in all directions. This is a class combo that's really easy to see and understand. Anyone can put down a firewall, and you can know, oh, okay, cool, I can do that. Rangers can fire arrows through firewalls, and the arrows will catch on fire as they travel through it, and any target the arrow hits will light on fire. So here we'll people can put down a static field, and you can fire a bullet through a static field, and the bullet will become electrically charged, and if it hits somebody, they'll get electrocuted. There's a lot of really clear, visual, easy-to-see class combos like this.
A lot of crossovers.
Keep some more fireballs.
And a question about the treasure chests. Does the amount of items you get depend on how long you've been fighting the boss?
So, yeah, event participation is predicated on certain thresholds of content that you've participated in. In the case of the boss, it's based on how much damage you've done to him. If you were doing the bandits event earlier where you're killing all the bandits, lighting the fires, it's based on the number of bandits that you helped kill. And we've tried to set it up so there's a really low threshold to get maximum participation. So just by doing a nominal amount of damage to the dragon boss, you qualify for the full reward. We want to make it so as long as you're there and you're actively doing the event, we'll give you the full reward for it. So this is a basic summary of the stuff that we're trying to do.
Oh, back to the original question about the PvP. You said there's two different versions. If I had to guess, one is massive and the other is more personal one-on-one?
Very close. So one of them is massive. It's our world versus world PvP. This is unbalanced.
World?
Yes.
Oh, that meant like 10 on 10.
No, this is much more massive than that. This is like hundreds versus hundreds. This is completely unbalanced PvP where it's out in an open world and it's any number of people against any number of people. This is giant keep sieges. Siege weapons fighting over huge castles. This is one server matched up against two other servers, all fighting against each other simultaneously.
Guildwars.
Yes, this is the ultimate form of Guildwars. This is a place that you can level up exclusively. If you really love PvP, you can go in with a level 1 character and you can level up entirely just in world versus world PvP. You don't ever have to do PvE if you want to.